Hi everybody, Robert Horovitz back. Video 2 of Healthy Kids Snacks from lifelongwell.ca. In the last video, I mentioned that my kids woke up, which is why I had to cut the previous video short. She was actually still a little bit hungry, despite this entire series of why we're doing snacks in the first place, which is to keep them full longer. Nobody's perfect. Sometimes you just don't feed them enough, or they just play too much, or whatever. They're still hungry, they're still hungry. I mean, that's the job of a parent. The secret, my secret, what I happened to do, and it happened to work this time, was I fed her something called Kefir, which I love. This kind of ties into the last video we just did on yogurt, right? Not everybody likes dairy. In fact, I've sort of on purpose chosen not to create a video just yet on the controversies of dairy, because that's a long subject, and you know, some people are for it, some people are against it. I kind of choose to be somewhere in the middle, okay? Instead of just bashing the dairy industry like a lot of purists will. I don't really want to do that. You know, if you like dairy, grab it. If you don't, don't. But either way, a lot of people just don't tolerate dairy very well. You know, just for the nature of it. It tends to be allergenic in many people. Not everybody, but it can cause a lot of inflammation. It has certain proteins in it that can cause sensitivities and inflammation and cause bloating, gas, and a lot of people just don't feel well on dairy whatsoever. Now, some of those people, if you've ever tried goat's milk or goat's dairy products, you tend to tolerate that better. If you're vegan, you just won't touch dairy whatsoever, and that's fine too. There's plenty of alternatives to dairy. I mean, you don't have to use dairy, but one of the things I've used with incredible success, and I personally love it as a snack, is fermented dairy. Fermented foods are phenomenal, okay? And if you have any questions about when you should introduce fermented foods to your child, please don't rely on this video. Speak to your doctor about it, okay? My kids, I have a 1-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son, almost a 2.5-year-old son. So, everybody's different. But anyway, fermented dairy, what happens is when you have the dairy, there's a lot of sugar, lactose. A lot of people are lactose intolerant, right? When you ferment that dairy in a specific way, bacteria feed on the sugars and produce unique healing compounds, which end up being in the dairy. That's number one. Number two, because they feed on the sugars, there's less of the sugars around to cause problem later on. Also, a lot of the allergens tend to just disappear when you ferment it. And so not only is it easier to digest, right, because the fermentation process almost pre-digests it. The bacteria or yeast, whatever you're using, pre-digests the food for you. But also, the nutrient content of the food itself increases as well. A lot of the nutrients in foods like dairy, you couldn't necessarily access before, or you would have had a hard time accessing. So by fermenting it, it's so easy. Those nutrients are so much more readily available. So while you don't necessarily increase some of the nutrients, like the protein content of the yogurt is the same or the milk is the same, but you have a lot more access to some of those other healing compounds in there that were not even there in the first place. You'll have a lot of interesting antibacterial compounds and antioxidants and just unique things in there that just weren't there. So you turn dairy, which is already nutritious, right, to many people, but you turn it into a food that's now more accessible, easier to digest, and is almost like a superfood. Now, kefir looks like yogurt. I'm going to put a little photo up here. You should see it. Hopefully, it kind of looks like yogurt, kind of like a liquidy yogurt. You're going to see it everywhere in all your premium grocery stores now. But what you'll notice is when you look at the kefir, you'll see these little white kind of chunks. That is not dairy gone bad, okay? When you eat kefir, you drink kefir, it's a little bit sour, a little bit tangy, but that's because the kefir is produced completely differently. They use, first of all, it originated in the Caucasus Mountains, which is sort of close to the Middle East. My wife's family is actually from a place called Dagestan, which is in like a mountainous region in the Caucasus area, and she first told me about kefir. Her and her family, actually, her sisters. And at first I thought it was really odd. In fact, because of the fat content, originally, I thought it was incredibly bad for you. I was really naive. Then I looked into it. I tried it myself. It is a superfood. It's so incredibly healthy. They use cow, goat, or sheep milk, and they use it with bacteria and yeast. They use this stuff called kefir grains. And so you have the benefits of the bacteria feeding on dairy, but then yeast also feed on dairy, and they produce other interesting healing compounds. And so you have all that stuff in the dairy product now in kefir that were not in it before the fermentation process. It's kind of mind-boggling to think about, right? You have dairy right there, you have milk, let's say, which, has whatever it has in there. You feed it to bacteria, all of a sudden there's more nutrition in it afterwards than there was before. It's a crazy, crazy thought to think about it. Now, not everybody likes the taste of plain kefir, just like not everybody likes the taste of plain yogurt. I, for one, don't. I don't like eating it plain. So I sweeten it with a little bit of maple syrup to taste. You got to be careful with kids, of course, because you don't want to make it too sweet. But you can sweeten it with anything you want. You can make purees. Mango juice is amazing. You can add frozen fruit to it or fresh fruit if it's seasonally available. You can just add it to it and eat it, and it's unbelievable. The other thing that I love about kefir, much like yogurt, is that it's a vehicle to really add whatever you want. Instead of me telling you what to add, I mean, there's plenty of YouTube videos out there which will tell you exactly what you can add. You can just look that stuff up. But I'd rather you not rely on a specific recipe. If you want ideas, I can let you know some. Just, mention some stuff in the, mention you want to know in the comment section, and I'll, or send me an email, robert@lifelongwell.ca, and I'll give you some ideas. But you could put whatever you want in there. There's so many different things you could put. Anything healthy that you think you could put, you probably can if it's safe for your children, and you'll love it. Anyway, give kefir a try if you want. Write me, leave comments, like it if you like it. If you found any value whatsoever, please share, subscribe, recommend people to subscribe. I read all the comments. I look for it. The website is lifelongwell.ca. If you want any other ideas on super nutrient-dense foods that you could add to kefir, you could just go on the site and you'll see amazing things on there. And if you join the rewards program, just create an account. It's equivalent. You get points. It's equivalent to $5 off anything you want in there. There's also a coupon for the summer, which is 10% off. So see you in video number 3. Cheers.